What's up, y'all? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. I am so stoked you are hanging out with me today. Every time my intro comes on, I'm just like grooving. I don't even know if I can start the podcast. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out and being here today. And as you know, I go around this amazing planet finding the best humans I can find to come on here to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. I found Jennifer today. So Jennifer Garrett is an Army officer. She's an author. She's the host of Move the Ball podcast. She is an internationally recognized branding expert and creator of Move the Ball movement, who currently works with executives and professional athletes on creating powerful brands and using those brands to move the ball in business. You like that, right? I love that, Jen. I love that. How are you? Welcome to Straight Talk.
Thank you so much for having me. And I love your energy. It's great. It's infectious for sure.
Oh, good. I have a lot of it. So take some, Jen. It's my ADHD. Take it. Jen, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I have a really freaking awesome audience. Like they are always like emailing and DMing and like, all that great stuff. They're amazing. So I know that they love to find out who you are. So let's start there. Jen, I know this is a little question, but who are you, Jen? Who are you?
Yeah, so I like to think of myself as someone that helps others to move the ball. That's why I have the Move the Ball movement, which you mentioned that I
I love
created.
it.
And so my background, I was in Fortune 50 companies, always thought I was going to be a big company corporate girl. And then that all changed about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. My dad passed away very unexpectedly. And when you
Mm,
lose a family member or someone you're close to, it makes you pause and rethink, like, what am I doing with my life?
yeah.
What's my purpose? And so I did some, I don't want to say soul searching, but I did some thinking and reflecting and looking at what is the legacy that I want to leave behind. Because I had been building all of these bullet points from my resume, which were great. But what I realized when my dad passed was the world's going to keep moving, whether you're in it or
Yeah.
not. And all of those bullets for that resume, no one was going to care about that when it was my turn to go. So, what was the thing that I was going to leave
Mm,
behind? And so, I had published my Move the Ball book and I had started this movement, and people had gotten behind this notion of, I just got to move the ball forward every single day. And so I thought, that's the thing, that's the legacy. And so I walked away as a single parent of five. It's kind of a big deal to leave your corporate job that was a good
yeah.
paying job,
A little bit,
right?
little bit.
to go all in on this movement.
Wow.
And I left on what would have been my dad's birthday. So there was no better day to make that bold move.
Yeah.
And so what I do today is I work with corporate professionals and athletes on their brands, like you mentioned earlier. So it's really about, how do you position your brand in a way to attract the opportunities you want, whether you're a corporate person looking to climb the ladder, or you're an entrepreneur looking to grow your company and drive revenue growth, or you're a pro athlete that's looking to find other opportunities outside of your professional career, because that sports career isn't going to last forever.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's dig into that. Like, where did the working with pro athletes come in? Like, was that something that you were always into? Is working with athletes, or was that how did that come about?
Yeah, no is the answer to that. And I never thought that I would be, because I didn't know anybody in that industry. I grew up a sports girl growing up in Chicago. I was a Chicago Bears fan as a
Of
kid,
course.
Chicago Bulls, Cubs, the whole gamut. But because I never knew anybody in that space, I never thought I would be in the industry. And today is so great with technology, because it allows you to connect with pretty much anyone on the planet
Yeah.
and create opportunities that you might not have been able to do as easily 10, 20 years ago. You can't just look up the yellow pages, write someone's name
Yeah.
and call them. It's a little bit different today with Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. Like, you can literally reach out to anybody or almost anyone, and who knows if they'll connect. But that's really what helped me, was technology to connect with people, build a network. And that took a lot of time and energy and
Yeah.
effort, and it was hard to break into sports. But once I did, I was very fortunate to have people that put their name out for me and really helped open doors. But I never thought I would be in this space, and I love it being a sports girl.
Yeah, that's good, and I want people to really listen too, because there's a couple of really important things that you pointed at, even in the beginning. First of all, sorry about the loss of your dad. I know that it's always hard when you lose someone really
Mhm.
close to you, right? And it almost feels like it was yesterday, even though it's been 5 years, 10 years, whatever,
Right.
I am proud of you though for taking the moment to pause and also just shifting like into
Mhm.
what you really wanted to do. That's scary. So on top of it being scary, you have 5 kids, right?
Yes.
I'm sure that was extremely scary for you. So I want to talk a little bit about that if you're open to that
Mhm.
and just kind of like, you know, how did you get through the fear? How did you get through those moments? And the reason I'm asking that question is because I have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to the show. And I love giving them some tools or tips that they can actually, implement in their life, right? So
Right.
what were those moments for you? What did that look like? How did you get through them?
Yeah, well, first I will say it was probably the hardest thing I've ever done was
Yeah.
walk away from that
Yeah.
job. And it wasn't easy. I mean, I had a date and that date came and I was like, no, not ready just yet. Let's push it out a month. And I kept pushing it back because it is a difficult decision to
Yeah.
give up everything that you know, especially when you are the breadwinner,
Yeah.
right, to walk into the land of uncertainty and roller coaster rides of entrepreneurship. But I was ready. I had spent a lot of time thinking about it. And I think you have to be in the right mental state. Like there's never
Yeah.
going to be the perfect time. But I
Right.
was conditioning my mindset to be like, okay, we're going to do this. And so it was just a matter of, I delayed it a little bit, but then when I jumped day one, it was like, okay, I'm ready to go. I had a plan. It's important to have a plan. However,
Good.
we know that that plan is oftentimes going to go out the window and you're going to pivot, right? But I had done the homework to be ready to make the move. And that was November 5th, 2019, which was right before COVID. So there was quite a
Yeah.
bit of pivoting, very soon into the new year.
Yeah, there sure was, right? Whoo! I mean, I guess also, and COVID did have its gifts. I think one of the gifts was the fact that more people were online. So people
Yes.
who were a little bit unreachable at some point,
Mhm.
because the whole world shut down, they became a little bit more reachable. A little bit
Yes.
more tangible, which was actually I call it the gift of COVID because it blew up my podcast. It like made me connect with people I never thought I would,
Mhm.
and so in that space, it's been amazing, right? Did you start with Move the Ball from the beginning, or was that something that started to develop throughout your journey?
Yeah, so that was already there because I had written that book in 2013. I published a
Okay.
second edition in 2018. So as social media became more and more popular, I was out there promoting things and people had gravitated, like I said, to this concept of moving the ball forward. So what they were doing was they were posting stories online about how they had moved the ball today and they would hashtag move the
Ah,
ball. They would tag me and I was like, that's a thing. Like that's what people are getting. Because Move the Ball, the book was a book about football and how you could use those lessons to be successful. But I never really thought that anyone would gravitate towards like adopting it as a way of life, right? And
that's
so
awesome.
when I saw that happen, I knew like this was the thing because people would call me up and they'd be like, "Hey Jen, I heard someone say move the ball today, and I thought of you." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like that became synonymous with me, and so I just knew that was the brand. So no, it was there for a number of years before I made the leap.
Well, then break that down for us then. What is Move the Ball? Right? Because
Mhm.
I know that you just said that it was about football at the time
Mhm.
and the strategies that they use in football. I don't know sports too much, but but in any game, right? You have your wins, you have your losses, you have your
Yes.
backing, you have your forwards, right? You have,
Yeah.
you fumble, you let go of the ball, you pick it up. So talk to
Right.
me about what Move the Ball is. What is this movement? What was the book about? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so the book, I took very specific football terminology and I translated that into how you can be successful. For example, in football, teams try to get a first down when they have the ball so they can move it forward and then eventually
Right.
get close enough to kick a field goal, score a touchdown, whatever, right? And so the first down concept in our own lives is about trying to get to those shorter milestones to your big goals. So you've got a big goal.
I
What
love it.
happens is sometimes that feels overwhelming. And when you feel overwhelmed and stressed, you don't do anything because it's too big. So if you break it down into first down markers, milestones, and you focus on those smaller chunks, it makes it easier to get to the goal line, right? And so, like, for example, if you want to lose 100 pounds, you don't think about, oh my gosh, I have to lose 100 pounds. I'm never going to get there. You think, okay, this quarter or this month, I want to focus on 5 or 10 or 15 pounds. You work on what you need to do that. You hit
Right.
that, you're excited, right? Because you hit that goal, you're motivated to continue, you celebrate that achievement as well. So you take credit for that, and it gives you extra motivation to continue forward. And so that's just one example of using a football specific term
Mm-hmm.
to apply off the field to be successful. So that was the book. What happened was people started taking this mentality of the competitive athlete mindset and adopting it, whether they knew football or not. Move the Ball was not about football anymore. It was about adopting that
Right.
mentality and that approach to any situation, anything you're doing, no matter what happens every single day. You just need to focus on moving the ball a foot, an inch, a yard. You get a first down or a touchdown, great, but you just got to keep it moving.
Yeah, that's really, really a fantastic concept. And I see why, like pro athletes would even relate to that, right? Because
Mhm.
you're speaking their language, but also speaking to them, not just about sports, but about their life and how to move their life forward. So
Right.
now my brain, of course, always gets very curious. So when you're writing about moving the ball, are you also talking about like a team aspect, like having the right setups around you, the right people around you, kind of like, everything takes a village, right? We
Yes.
can't do everything alone. Do you mention that those kind of things as well? Like, does that concept relate to that?
Absolutely. It takes a team to move the ball, as I
Yeah.
say. So, in the Move the Ball book, there were two chapters. One was called Are You With Me? One was called Drop the Dead Weight. Are You With Me is about knowing who is with you on your team. Drop the Dead Weight is about making those tough decisions and removing people that should not be there, either permanently or on a temporary basis. When I say temporary, what I mean is some people we still value, but they're not helping us with regards to a specific goal. So maybe you don't talk to them about that
Yeah.
or ask for their advice because it's
Yeah.
not productive, but you're not ready to cut ties with them. So those two chapters talk about how you deal with teammates and maybe making some changes. You know that I have another book that was recently released called
Yeah.
Dominate the Game. So Move the Ball is all about just keep it moving every single day. Dominate the Game is more like let's elevate now. Yes, we want to keep it moving, but we really want to crush it and dominate and be the master of whatever it is that we're looking to do. And
I
so
love
in
it.
there there's a chapter called Get Inside the Huddle, which talks about the right people that you need to have on your team. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not just
Mm-hmm.
about thinking about the team, it's about, okay, who are the critical players that I need to have so that I can dominate?
That is so good, girl.
Thank you.
I don't know sports, Jen, but you speaking my language right now.
Yes.
I love it. Okay, so when you're talking to, let's say, a new entrepreneur coming to you, right, and
Mhm.
wants to get started or doesn't even know how to get started, what are kind of like the first steps you tell someone or tell my audience right now on how they can start looking at moving the ball? Because a lot of people, especially now, at least the more conversations I'm having, people do feel stuck, right?
Mhm.
They do feel stagnant. That is happening. It's a thing. I was speaking to someone a couple months ago and she was saying, I feel like I'm slowly drinking poison and I'm stuck here. I'm like, wow, that's powerful
Mhm.
to say that to yourself, right? To feel that and be that. So if
Right.
you had to talk to your client right now or your, first timer coming to you, what would you suggest is the first thing to even move the ball? What would be the first thing you think?
Sure. So this is not anything profound. It's very basic, but so many people get this wrong. It's really that clarity. Like, what is it that you want to do? Who do you
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
serve? Knowing your customer base, your audience, yeah, and then being clear on what are the goals? What are you looking to achieve for
Mhm,
that
mhm,
audience, right? And so it,
mhm.
it seems so simple, but people don't take the time to really
It's
figure
very
that
true.
out. And
Mhm.
so that's the first step. And even in Move the Ball, there's a chapter called What Does It Mean to Win, which is really about that whole clarity exercise and knowing where you want to go. In Dominate the Game, it's called What Color or What Jersey Are You Wearing? And so it's kind of a or what color is your jersey? And it's kind of a play off of the what color is your parachute?
Mhm.
book. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to do something for a title. But it's all about understanding who you are, being very clear on your values for one and your priorities.
Yeah,
But then also as a business owner or a career person, like knowing where do you want to go? Because how can you know if you're moving the ball forward if you don't know where you're trying to go?
that's good. And you know what, Jen, you're right. I think because you and I have been in the game for a little bit, we kind of know this step, right? But to
Mhm.
be honest with you, years ago, I did not know this step, right? I didn't.
Mhm.
I just thought, oh, I want to help everyone, everyone.
Yeah.
I just,
Mhm.
you know. And then you
Yeah.
realize, yeah, what my son used to say is, Mom, when you're trying to be everything to everybody, you become nothing to nobody, right?
Correct.
And I'm like, okay, all right, Nina needs to figure this out because her own kid knows that, and I didn't, But
Right.
I
Mhm.
mean, what you're talking about is real stuff, right? So talk to me about who you work with now. I know you said you work with some professional athletes. Do you work with like companies, or do you work with individuals, or how do you structure your business?
Yeah, so I work mostly with individuals. I do
Oh,
some corporate consulting if people ask me and we explore if that makes sense. Because that's what I actually was going to do when I first left was corporate consulting. Because of COVID, I pivoted because back then no corporation was looking at hiring
right.
consultants. They were
That's
trying to
true.
keep their doors open, their employees safe, right? And
That's
not go
right.
out of business. So I
Right.
started working with individuals and pro athletes on their brand. Started off with corporate professionals, job seekers who were in during the time of COVID, people were unsure if they were going to have a job or they
Right.
had already been let go. So it was a very stressful time for a lot of people. And one of the things that I do very well is I know how to brand people, use the right words, coach them on how do you sell yourself to get the opportunities that you're looking for. Most of the people that I work with in the corporate space are mid to senior level professionals because the higher you go or the further you are in your career, the competition is greater because everybody's
Yeah.
good. Right. And so it's not there's 1,000 people applying for a job, but the 100 that might be applying, they all have great backgrounds too. So, how do you differentiate yourself so that you get to an interview? When you
That's
get to
good.
an interview, what do you say? How do you get them hooked on you so that they want to continue the conversation and hopefully extend an offer for that role? So, that's what I do with corporate people. And then on the pro athlete side, it's really again about positioning their brand. So they're not looking for a job, but they, as many, and I work with mostly NFL guys, as they know that career is very short lived. So more of them are thinking about business opportunities while they're
That's good.
still in the league. So
Hmm.
that way, when they're done, they're not struggling to find themselves and, they've created other streams of income for themselves.
I think that's so smart too, right? Because it sets them up to win. I think, most of them, I don't know, I could just speak for the ones I've known, that, when they have their mind on getting to being the NFL player or the NBA or whatever, that is the goal. Like that
Mhm.
is the goal, right? And so once they're there, it is super smart, Jen, to have somebody like you on their side to help them pivot and see that after that there's something else, right?
Yes.
Because yeah, just like the pro player, it's the same with that big corporate person, the C-suite person, whatever that is. If they don't see outside of that role, that is a really tough place to be when
Right.
everything you have is just that thing,
Exactly.
right? Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Talk to me about your new book though, because that just came out, so tell me about that.
Yes, so it was released on Veterans Day, November 11th. So 11/11. I like to have numbers that have meaning or some significance. So
That's awesome.
11/11. It was called "Dominate the Game: How Life Changes When You Show Up," and it's all about how you suit up and how you show up to life to not only move the ball but to dominate the game. And the reason I use those words "suit up" and "show up" is because on my podcast, Move the Ball, I always end every show saying, "Until next time, make sure you suit up, you show up, and you move the ball." So, from a branding standpoint, for those entrepreneurs out there, you want to be consistent and integrate your
Yeah,
messages and tie everything together. And so, the book is structured in three parts. There's a suit up section, which is all about the mental preparation and the physical preparation to be able to be productive and efficient every day,
I
every week,
love
every
it.
month. The show up is how you show up every day. We know how you
Mhm.
show up matters, right? And if you do those things, you should move the ball and dominate when done right. So that's kind of what the book is about. I'm a sports girl, so there's all kinds of sports references in whatever
Yeah.
I write about. But with Dominate the Game, because Move the Ball, the movement evolved from being just about football. Dominate the Game isn't as football heavy. There's a lot of stories that
Mhm.
might reference football examples, but in terms of heavy football terminology, it's very, very light. It just uses a wide cross section of different examples and stories and themes.
That's awesome. That book sounds amazing, actually. I could relate to it, even though, again, I don't do sports, but I understand everything you're saying and all that
Mhm.
terminology, right? So, what do you do, Jen, in your life to move the ball? Because it's, it gets tough for us too, right? As
Yes.
entrepreneurs, as people with families. I mean, we're human beings, right? So,
Right.
how do you get yourself to move the ball and move forward?
Sure. Well, it starts with being connected to my why. Like I left a great paying job to go focus on this brand. And
Right.
as any entrepreneurial venture will be, there's ups and downs, and the highs are great, the lows are not so great, right? But when you stay connected to your purpose, it's easy and you love what you do, then it's easy to go through the valleys and the hills and be
Yeah.
excited to get up every day and attack the day and move the ball. I think too, for me, from a tactical standpoint, I'm very much a planner. And so every week on Sundays, I plan out my week and I look at, okay, I know what I want to do each week in terms of the goal, right? So I've got that clarity. And then I make sure that the things that I put on my calendar align with those things. And I say no to things that aren't the priority. That doesn't mean I'm never going to get to it, but it's not the priority this week. And the reason this is important is because it helps to reduce stress, because
That's
we
good.
all have so many
Mhm.
things that we're juggling, and there's many more things to do than there are hours in the day. So you have
Yeah.
to plan and prioritize. And when you condition your mind to think, I'm going to worry about these other tasks next week or in 2 weeks, then it helps to reduce the stress that you have because you don't feel as overwhelmed. You know you're going to take care of it some other time, so you can focus and show up and be present for the things that you plan to do each and every day. The other thing I do is I think it's important to take a time out, right? And
Mm.
for a number of reasons. One, your health, mental health, physical health. Like I schedule into my week time to work out, time for just to veg, to just relax, because that is so important. Like
Yeah.
there's two schools of thought. One is like hustle and grind till you're gonna drop dead, and there's the
Right.
other school of thought, which is be more productive with your time and you don't have to work as many hours in the day. And that's how I choose to subscribe to my philosophies, is focused on that, right? It's not about did I work 8 hours or 12 hours today or 16 and whatever. It's about what did I do in the time that I said I was going to work, and did I focus on the right things?
Right. Yeah, that's really good. Thank you for that. Because I think as entrepreneurs or people who are out here really trying to impact the lives of others, I try to ask my guests that question because I know that the people who are listening are also struggling. And I think,
Mhm.
or at least not struggling, but go through highs and lows, like you said. The highs are highs, the lows can be lows, right?
Mhm.
So it's always good for people to hear strategies that maybe you go through that they go, wait a minute, I didn't think of that. Maybe I
Right.
do need to rest. And it doesn't have to be grinding all the time, like
Mhm.
that kind of stuff. And that's the ahas that I like to give people because we are all sometimes we can't see our peripheral. We're just going.
Mhm.
So it's good to have that view, right? So Jen, tell me what's going on with what you're looking forward to. Like what are you thinking about building your brand out to? What do you want to do? What's the future hold?
Yeah, so the trend in the space is to do a lot more online work, courses and things like that. I've had some courses in the past, but I've been this is December, so I'm thinking about 2023 and what I want to do. And for me, it's about, okay, what are the things that are going to help me to have a larger impact, right?
Mm,
And so by putting more digital content out there, that allows me to have a greater reach. I mean, you mentioned, with COVID, people were at home and it was easier to reach more people because they're online. The trend is going to, a lot of businesses are offering more online services. And
yeah,
so my plan is to do some coursework around career elevation. And so again, that branding, but putting it
so
in a
good.
course so that way people can consume it on their own. And to be honest too, or transparent, not everybody wants to pay the fees that I charge, because for whatever reason they don't see it as a big enough investment that they want to invest those funds, or they don't have it. So by offering another product that allows you to still get the knowledge, but I'm not the one hands on doing it, and it's a different price point, that allows you to connect with more people too.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and then you also have your books as well, which,
Right.
they can at least start with, right? Because
Right.
I think that, at least for me in the beginning, I had a smaller way of thinking where I really didn't invest in myself too much. I
Mhm.
invested in other things, my kids, my
Right.
my husband, my home, but when it came to me, I was like, maybe not, right? And so
Right.
until I started reading, and as I
Mhm.
started reading even more, and reading like self-help books and books that really started to expand my knowledge, I realized, wait a minute, these books are great, but I need a human, right? So I
Mhm.
started to invest in coaches, right?
Right.
And that had really transformed my whole life, my business, everything. Right.
Mhm.
So I agree. I think that's a great idea. I think for you to reach an audience that maybe can't work with you right now, or just doesn't realize the value just yet, you
Correct.
know? And until
Yes.
they start to like read and hear and see what it is you're putting out on the table, then they're going to be like, okay, wait, if she wrote a book like this, or if she did a course like this, I need her. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's really allowing people to get a taste, right?
Yeah.
And can we know that people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And so if
Right.
you can provide other content that's of value, then and they realize that, hey, you know what, maybe this is an investment I need to make, then they may want to do other things with you as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what you're doing is great. I mean, I love just the concept of your books alone. I think can bring so much wisdom and knowledge to leadership teams, especially, right? Because
Mhm.
I'm a leader, I'm a director. And the thing is like just hearing you talk, I'm like, this would be good for a leadership class, a
Mhm.
management course. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like to teach managers how to be managers, or at least to show up well,
Right.
so that they can move the ball in their teams, right? And I think that that's happening right now. And you probably see this a lot, Jen, that leadership management companies are shifting. It's not the same, you know?
Correct.
It is
Mhm.
very different out there. It's very
Right.
different, right? So, if somebody wants to work with you, hire you, all of that stuff, even like your podcast, all that, give us all of that. That my team can, or my team. See, now you got me speaking like a sports person. That the audience can actually reach out to you and get more of Jen.
For sure. Yeah. So if you want to listen to Move the Ball podcast, it's on all the major podcast platforms. And so, just Google Move the Ball and you should find it. I have a link tree that's the easiest because it's got all my stuff there. And so if you
Yeah,
just do link tree slash Move the Ball, you'll find my podcast, you'll find the books, you'll find, you can book a call with me. You can always reach
awesome.
out on LinkedIn as well. I have my settings so that you can send me a message. You don't need an email credit or anything. So I love people reaching out. I love to serve and bring value. So even if you just want to have a chat or want to ask a question, I'm always happy to chat. So yeah, just reach out.
Awesome. Now you are currently still taking clients and all of that, right?
Yes, I am. And one
Okay.
other thing I will
Yeah.
mention, because you talked about leadership teams, is I've been talking with companies about purchasing Dominate the Game as a personal growth and development read
Yeah.
for some of their employees. So if anyone is interested, I do have a preview kit, a marketing kit of the book that has more details. So please reach out and let me know. I'd love to send it to anyone.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna reach out to send send it to me, Jen. Send it to me.
Okay.
I have a team, and I think that it would be really a great idea. I can show it to my COO and stuff like that, and see if this is something that they would be interested in. Because I mean, my organization is amazing. They're always trying to invest in us, right? So when
Mhm.
you find people that can help you to have the all the different departments come as a team together in the organization and move it forward, that is powerful. You could do a lot with that, right? You can
Absolutely.
really do a
Mhm.
lot. Thank you so much, Jen. This was so good. And you left so many great nuggets on the table. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for being on.
Oh, well,
Appreciate
thank
that.
you so much for having me.
Thank you. And I promised you 30 minutes. So we're going to go ahead. It's 30 minutes. See that? I'm trying, Jen. I'm trying to move the ball forward
Yes.
to finish it. Awesome. Guys, thank you for hanging out with us. I told you you would love her. I'll make sure to link all of Jen's info below. Like she said, though, her link tree / move the ball is probably the best place to go. But make sure you guys reach out. Like, really, I know that a lot of you are entrepreneurs and a lot of you are leaders in really great organizations. What a best way, to like get your team together and like really move the ball. And the best part is that you can actually use the sport analogies, right? To help everybody in your team think about that. Think about what it means to work together as a team. Like right now, the World Cup is like the thing, right? Everybody's watching the World Cup. And so you know what? Let's move the ball together. Let's do it with Jen. Make sure you guys reach out to her. You guys are freaking awesome. This is Neena Perez, Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Until next time.